Welcome back everyone. This is Zephyr Chung with Iris Diecast, and for this video I'd like to review my 118 Bburago Jaguar E-Type or XKE Mark 1. This is one of the must-have classic cars, and I was looking forward to having this car for a very long time. Recently I just gave up on finding a used deal and picked up this car new for $40. There are quite a bit of brand options for this car. You can get it in Bburago, Auto Art, KK Scale, Road Signature, and more. Bburago was the easiest to get, so that's what I went with. Bburago has made this E-Type in both the hardtop coupe and a convertible like this one. Currently the coupe is being sold in a light blue, and the convertible is being sold in this dark green color. I like them both, but I went with green because I like English cars in green, you know, with the British racing green and all of that. So here is the front of the model. The E-Type is one of the most popular classic cars and is also one of the main contributors to Jaguar's prestige. It has a very sleek design and it's quite aerodynamic too, or at least in the front. It has a very low air resistance for a car in this era, but they misdesigned the rear, so at really high top speeds the car will get lift instead of downforce, making it quite difficult to drive. Bburago has finished this casting very cleanly. It doesn't look too cheap like some of their other cars. The pegs that hold the headlamp to the body of the car is lifted up here so it's not too exposed. The details on the bulbs are fine. One thing I wasn't really happy about was this license plate. It's just printed onto the car, and personally I think it would have looked a lot better without the license plate. I mean, it's a classic. I want it simple and stock. And with some random numbers and letters on it, well, I'm not just a huge fan of it. I believe the earlier E-Types made by Bburago didn't have them also. The bumpers are made in this cheap Maisto/Bburago chrome. It is quite precise though. It's not crooked and uneven like some of the other cars, but nonetheless it will wear off and get dull over time. Here is the fog lamp. They did create it in a plastic part instead of just painting it on. The earlier Bburago E-Types were just entirely orange, but they improved the detail on the retooled casting like this one. And instead of covering up the grille with a slab of plastic, they put a thin chrome line over here, so you can see through it. The chrome quality is not very good. The surface is not very smooth, but that's just the kind of thing you have to put up with these budget cars. The air intakes up here are blocked. There's no holes on the hood. One thing I was definitely not happy with was these wipers. They've just painted it on, and I personally think that it looks horrible. This is the new retooled casting. The older one was just bare. They didn't have any wipers of any sort, and I think I would have preferred it that way. The older casting also had mirrors, but the newer casting, which is this one, doesn't due to cost cutting. One little interesting feature I found with this car was these hood locks. In the real car it is leather, but it's plastic on the model. You have to open the hood locks on both sides of the car to gain access to the hood, which is a pretty cool little feature, although you do have to be careful not to break it. This is a earlier Mark 1 E-Type, so this one has a 3.8 liter inline 6 engine that produces 240 horsepower. The E-Type actually has quite unimpressive powertrain, well, at least the earlier ones. And how it came to that is a pretty interesting story. So back when this car was new, like in 1962, Enzo Ferrari called this car the most beautiful cars, and sales actually leaped thanks to his remark. But Enzo was actually mocking the E-Type. Back when old man Enzo was running Ferrari, Ferrari was closer to a frame builder. They built the frame and powertrain, and they combined it with the cabin made by Pininfarina or Idle Design. So the way Enzo saw it, the E-Type was lacking what really mattered, the powertrain, and was a low-grade produce that focused only on its outer design. This came up because Jaguar was a really powerful contender back in the 1950s. They had created the XK series that near 250 kilometers per hour and won the Le Mans 7 times in 10 years with the C and D types. So everyone was quite nervous about the new E-Type, which was the production version of the D-Type. But during the development of the E-Type, Jaguar's only development lab and factory caught on fire, and Jaguar took a huge loss. They couldn't afford to delay the launch of the new car or spend any more money on development, so they just took the 3.4 liter from the XK150, gave it a bigger displacement and better torque, gave it a 4-speed instead of the originally planned 5-speed, and ditched the aluminum monocoque body. This caused the E-Type to be more boring than it was originally meant to be, but that also meant that it was easier and convenient to drive. That combined with the cheap price, the E-Type was around half the price of its competitors by Ferrari, Mercedes, Maserati, and Alfa Romeo. That resulted in the huge success of the E-Type and the Jaguar brand as a whole. Although this is a retool casting, it is still an older Italian Bburago design, and surprisingly they didn't simplify or cost cut any engine details. It's nothing like a higher ended model. You can see the plastic quality is not very good, but you can definitely tell that they put a lot of effort into it, and I've got to admit it is pretty sweet for the price. So let's move on to the side. It is really beautiful, the lines and the sleek design. One little interesting thing is the side windows. I was pretty surprised to find it. They also did the door handles in this chrome plastic. It looks pretty weak if you take a close look at it, but it's still better than nothing. Here are the wire rims of the E-Type. It's not as thin nor tight like some more expensive cars, but they did do a pretty fine job on it. While I'm not the biggest fan of chrome parts on model cars, I think it looks pretty nice on this model. It helps the car stand out a little bit more. It's a nice little emphasis since the lines in the car are so simple. So moving on to the interior, doors open outward, exposing the door hinges explicitly. This is a common thing on older model cars. The opening angle is actually quite large. Usually Maestro and Bburago cars have a really terrible door opening angle. So being a budget model, the plastic quality on the door panels over here and the seats are not very nice, as you can see, but nonetheless they did put a lot of effort into the details of the interior. Personally, I think the steering wheel is one of the best Bburago steering wheels that I've ever seen. They painted it brown to express the wood texture, and the spokes are actually made out of metal, and they've crafted the little holes with precision. In addition, you can see that the interior is very cleanly finished. The chrome parts over here and the little switches and everything is done with amazing attention to detail for a Bburago model. Onto the rear, you can see some chromes for the bumpers and the exhausts and the headlamp edges. The finishing on the rear lamp is not too great. As you can see with the plastic quality and the way it's attached to the body, it's not very well finished. And here is the trunk space. It is actually quite flat. You can hardly see that this opening tool goes inside the trunk. I know it's a sports car, but I'm not sure if you can fit anything in here at all. It's so flat, let's say. Here is the undercarriage. It's typical detail for a Bburago car, of course. And being a Bburago, this model doesn't offer working suspension. So that's it, my review on the 118 Bburago 1961 Jaguar E-Type Cabriolet. I think that this car can be a pretty decent substitute for other expensive E-Type models. Of course, being a Bburago, this car is pretty easy to find and cheap to get, but it also has a pretty decent exterior and interior design for its price range. Plastic quality is not the best, but we're talking about a $40 car here, so it's pretty acceptable. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, be sure to click like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys soon in a future video.